All right, today I'm going to compare Bitwig Studio with FL Studio. Let's see which one wins. Okay, so as far as FL Studio, one thing that stands out about it is the fact that you can have a super lightning fast workflow. So especially if you're creating trap type beats, you can create beats within like 5 minutes. So watch how I create a beat. I have all my sounds together. Another thing I want to know, auditioning sounds are like super lightning fast. That's pretty cool. So let me go ahead and just create a beat real quick. So this is the step sequencer too. So notice there's like multiple ways you can go about making a beat in FL Studio. You can either record from your controller, like keyboard controller, and select the track and just start playing out stuff. Or you can go into the step sequencer, start, clicking in these buttons, and then you can also right click, go to piano roll, and then kind of just start drawing in MIDI events. So let's just start here. That couldn't even been a minute, and I already have a beat right there. And all I need to add is like a melody or something like that, and then the beat is pretty much finished. Now, you see, this is right here. This is the beat right here, and it's labeled as a pattern. Now, what you could do is go over to the arrangement and just kind of just play it out or write it out. Right now, it's set to performance mode, so let's take that off. But what if you want to separate your tracks and stuff? So what you do is go here, right click, and you can split by channel. So now you have all your different elements. So here's Bitwig Studio. It has a totally different workflow than FL Studio. Again, FL Studio, when it comes to creating quick ideas, second to none. MIDI editing capabilities, second to none. But with Bitwig Studio, the thing I like about it is I can create my ideas in this area right here, and then move it over to the arranger or playlist or whatever you want to call it quickly. So I'm going to just create the same type of beat. So it took me a little longer, but now let's say I wanted to call this the verse right here. And let's duplicate it. Let's call this hook. So let's say I want to just start arranging this in a song format. Let me just take this out just to differentiate the two. Here's the verse, here's the hook. This is not how you would want to format a song anyway, but I'm just demonstrating. And now I can just take this out the way. So now I can just work on the whole song. So all your tracks are already separated. You got the format that you want. And that's a cool thing I like about Bitwig Studio. FL Studio do have a performance mode. So I'm gonna go over here. I already created it. So what you have to do is if you wanna prepare for performance, like if you wanna use like a launch pad or something like that, you go to Tools, Macros, and Prepare for Performance Mode. And it will switch your timeline to all these pads. And then you can just bring all these different MIDI clips or whatever. So I'm just gonna go here, and I mean, it's the same pattern I created, but it has a similar look to this right here in Bitwig Studio. So let me just play it so you can see what it looks like. So you can play different sections and stuff like that. And then what you could also do, you can record the whole performance. So it captures whatever you're playing here. The only thing I don't like about FL Studio is that you can't edit the clips while you're even playing. And then whatever you edit here, like for example, if you use this clip right here, whatever you edit here, it's gonna edit the same way on here. And that's even if you're just in regular arrangement mode. So this clip is exactly this clip. This clip is the same clip as this. So whatever you edit on here is gonna edit here. Whatever you edit here is gonna edit on here. So that's the thing I don't like about performance mode. Now with Bitwig Studio, you can edit while you're playing. So watch. So you can do that, and you can do that in Bitwig Studio. You can't do that while playing the performance mode in FL Studio. Okay, so as far as rendering audio, it's pretty straightforward. It's different, but it's pretty straightforward. So let's say I want to turn these into like a wave file. So what you want to do is go to this file right here, right click, and you can either do render as a quick render as an audio clip, or you can just do render and replace. Let's do render and replace. Boom, that fast. As far as Bitwig Studio, if I wanted to do that, all I have to do is click on this clip right here. I could either right click and say bounce in place, or I could just do Control or Command B, whatever. Depends on if you're on a PC or Mac. PC is Control, Mac is Command B. Boom. Okay, so I mentioned that FL Studio's MIDI editing capabilities are second to none, and I created like a pattern, and I'm gonna go into the piano roll, and I'm gonna just let it play real quick. What you can do here is you can select notes and start chopping them up. So it's as simple as saying Option U, and you can see how you want to divide the notes. So see, I got 4 notes right here, 8 notes. You also have functions like quick legato, so they all have their key commands, so you can do quick editing with just keyboard shortcuts. You can also use the riff machine just to come up with a pattern. Okay, so I wanted to mention that you can actually stamp chord progressions on here. So if you don't have a keyboard or you don't really know much about music theory, you can use this stamp function to kind of cheat. So I'm just gonna put something together real quick. So I was able to put together a chord progression without even using the keyboard. Okay, lastly, with FL Studio, you can edit the MIDI even in the step sequencer. So I'm just going to mess with the hi-hats right here. And you go right here and you have different things you can mess with: velocity, note pitch, fine pitch, and panning. So I'm just going to do this real quickly. So watch. It's all from like one page, I guess you can call it. And then you also can mess with the swing too. Got to mention that. So you can add as much swing as you want on here using this button right here. And also, if you want to kind of shift the timing things, you can do that with this. So go to the time and shift the timing. So you can do that here. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so with Bitwig Studio, MIDI editing capabilities are pretty basic here. So when you right click here, you have quantize, you have make legato, and that's all you have. But I will say that Bitwig, they make up with the operators right here, and they make up with the modulators and MIDI effects. So I'm going to go over those real quick. So let's say you just want to split this note right here. You can just go ahead and slice in place. Let's do this right here. Okay. You can also click here, go to where it says operator, and you can kind of split the notes here. And you can also specify how often this happens. So let's say you can make this happen every second bar, whatever. Or every first bar it happens. So you can do that kind of thing. Now, if you want to play with the pitch, you can highlight these right here, and you can kind of mess with the spread. Oh, that's the panning. So yeah, you can do that with the panning. Let's go ahead with the pitch. Also, you can mess around again. I mentioned you can mess around with different note effects. Let's mess with the arpeggiator. So I could just take this and make this one note. Let me just take this off. Make this one note. Now you got this arpeggiator. You can just run it. So you can it's kind of like the step sequencer in the FL Studio. Kind of reminds me of it. Not quite, but you can mess around, do a quick edit of the velocities and gates and stuff, and even skip a step. You can even add swing here too. So what you will have to do is turn on your enable groove. That's the swing. So you can kind of do that. So those are like the note effects, and then you have the modulators that can you can modulate pretty much anything. So this is a sampler right here. Let's say I want to play around with the pitch. I'm going to put in a classic LFO, and it does like this wavy type of deal. And I'm just going to play with the pitch. And I'm just going to exaggerate. So I mean, you have endless possibilities with the use of modulators and note effects. Okay, one thing I almost forgot to mention, file management. I think FL Studio does a pretty good job at this. You can set all of the folders that you think that you may have files in, and it will automatically search through any of these folders for any files that may be missing, which is very different than Bitwig Studio. So here, say these represent all of your missing files right here. So in Bitwig Studio, you have to either individually find the sounds, or you could find all by hitting this. And ideally, I would like to just be able to hit a hard drive and it search through all of these folders, but you have to kind of select each folder to find those files. So with FL Studio, the features that make this program stand out is number one, the step sequencer, of course, and then number two, the fact that it has so many plugins, instruments, and effects off the bat. Like, you could really get by with just creating using the stock plugins and the stock instruments. You really don't have to buy any third-party instruments. They also have this thing called Patcher, where you can nest different instruments and effects together. You can go through these different presets, or you can create your own, like nest different effects together. And you got something going on right here. If you look in here, see there's a whole lot going on here. And then you could create your own controls. You can do that, add your own controls, add different buttons and all kind of stuff. This is with Patcher. It's pretty cool. With Bitwig Studio, I find it easier to manipulate audio clips. So I can select the clip and I can just chop it with a simple keyboard shortcut. Or I could just grab it in here, go into the clip, and I could start, messing around with the sample, keyboard shortcuts, and manipulate the audio here. I could do stretching. I could stretch the events, add markers, do stretching. It's kind of similar to like Ableton. Another thing that stands out with Bitwig Studio is they have polygrid. So this is the polygrid instrument right here. You could go through the different presets. And when you click in here, it's like a whole nest of different sounds and effects and stuff. Then they have their own grid style of effects that you can put on too. So let's type in grid, effects grid, and then you can go through your different presets, or you could build your own presets. So it's called Beat Stutter. Okay, so how do you get Bitwig Studio? So you go to the website, go to buy, and they have two different tier options. You have the basic version right here for $100. Then you have the full-blown studio version for about 400. So that's Bitwig Studio. FL Studio, they have 4 different tiers. Have one starting at the most basic for $100, and to the fully blown out all plugins edition, 500. So they both have the standard entry point, $100 will get you in the door. FL Studio has a more expensive all-inclusive version, but it includes a lot of plugins. They have a lot of different plugins and instruments that you may or may not even use. The difference between these two DAWs is that while Bitwig Studio is cheaper, FL Studio has free updates for life, like period. So whatever you buy, you have free updates. So it doesn't matter. So right now they're at FL Studio 20. So if there's a FL Studio 21, 22, 23, whatever, it's going to be free for all owners. Now with Bitwig Studio, they have like a yearly upgrade. I think it's like ranges between 129 and 169. All right, so what is the verdict? Really depends on the user. I recommend that you try both DAWs. There's a demo version for both. You try it out and see what fits your production style. You may enjoy the lightning fast workflow of FL Studio, where you can just use the step sequencer and just the mouse. You don't even have to have a keyboard controller. You can get by with just pointing and clicking. And you don't have to buy third-party VSTs. You can really get by with just the stock plugins and the stock effects. Or you may enjoy Bitwig Studio, which has the traditional DAW workflow, has that Ableton style workflow as well. You can use them concurrently on the same screen. Also, there's the modulators, which is a good standout feature. So it really just depends on what you prefer. Me personally, I like both, but I give the slight edge to Bitwig Studio because I like the use of the modulators and the other intuitive things. I like the fact that I can manipulate audio way easier than I can in FL Studio. I don't like the fact that I would have to pay a yearly upgrade fee for Bitwig Studio when they have their new features. But I guess that's just the cost of them being a smaller company. They're relatively new compared to all of the other DAWs, so I give them a pass for that. Hopefully they get big enough to the point that they can give out free updates for life. So let me know in the comments, which DAW do you prefer? Have you tried them out yet? Let me know in the comments, which one did you like better? Also, if you like this video, please remember to share with your friends, like, and if you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing and turn on your notifications. All right, I will see you in the next video.